I really hope that that actually, oh, I guess it now just clicked on is going live. Okay. So I'm not sure how, it should have, I'm not sure how far we're in, because I didn't notice that. So, still recording, but we'll go along. All right, so again, this is Christine Bundy, State Coordinator, Lead Recording Secretary for the Indiana Assembly. It is Wednesday, May the 3rd, 2023 for General Education. We have already had a moment of silence and read the Bivens decision. If you are coming into the call late, you still are you are still held to the question of if you are a federal agent or municipal employee, that sort of thing, to respond in the chat. Even if you do come late, it doesn't skip over. Okay. All right. So in the description of the call is this resource links list. All right. And so the first link here is Audubon Rights. So we'll come over here, just quickly run through this. This is the blog. It is in actual chronological order. So that means the oldest is listed first. Okay, and so that is, it can be lengthy because she has she's more than halfway ready to get to break the 4,200 mark of articles. So, and again, as you're able to come in, I apologize again for this. I've thought this connected to it. So, but anyway, I guess it'll all catch up in the long run. All right. So again, there is the blog. That's where it's, if you wanted to keep up, it can get exciting to follow because you can kind of, and then when you're listening on Monday night's calls, you can, you get some feedback as to what was going on in her week, which would also give more insight as to if she was having longer call or crazy weeks to have longer articles. May have been positive, sometimes overly positive weeks as well. She's able to pump out even more, right? So, and that's a lot. It's a lot for everything that she's doing, and then to be able to have the time to come with the articles. And it can be a lot to try and keep up with it timing wise. So, as she comes out with them. So unless you're able, pretty good reader. Now, on YouTube there is a channel, a user called Ed Movius, Movius, and if you go to the 50 states site, we'll go there. Hopefully I'll remember, and where videos to at least get you to his channel, Ed Movius, and he does he converts Anna's articles into audio. Okay, so if that's something that would help you, like if you're one that does a lot of traveling, that would be one that you can be able to put on to, you can be able to keep up with the articles. All right, so then the second resource link here, which is a hot tool, that's why it's got asterisks, as well as it will be referenced later in the in this document. All right, so when we go to search Audubon Rights. Okay, so it is on this site that you can put in a word, a phrase, if you're wanting to do a topic search. If you have an article number, if you have the name of the article, you can be able to put it in there. Now, again, this search here is only for the 4,155 articles. Okay, so this is not a search engine for her webinars. I think there is a search engine set for the webinars too, but it would be on that, on the 50 states site with the webinars. All right, so that's going to be a key site. You're going to want to make sure you have that front and center in your bookmarks. You will go to it often. From the very beginning, you should be going into it. And of course, you will be going into it more and more once you get through your paperwork process, because then you're really getting into doing some studying and learning how to peel yourself out of this whole system, right? Okay, so then there is the 50 or TASA site. Okay, so TASA, this you're going to be at the site a lot. Primarily, you're going to be at this site during your paperwork process, because this is going to be giving you all of the. This gives you the templates. This giving you some of the brief history, but this is where you're getting your core templates. Here's the webinar, so you can also go. I think it takes you to the 50 state site though. Okay, and if you know someone that's currently living on another state, one of the 50 states, this doesn't apply to a U.S. territory or possession of where they're currently living, they can click here and connect in with their state assembly coordinator. They have to connect in with their state, no matter how much they want to try and go through and route and try and come through another state, even if the one they're trying to connect to is a Federation recording secretary, they still are going to have to connect in with their state. They're presenting to them their status correction. They're presenting their status as a national. They've got to present to their state assembly. Okay? So this is, they can connect to their coordinator here, as well as this takes you straight to the contact links as well for the 50 states. So key one, you're going to start with correct your status. Okay. So you're going to come over here, here's the one pager. So the bare minimum for status correction, and you'll find this in all of the, all videos, all that I have presented, all communications I've put out there, is that the bare minimum is 17, as well as this is straight up from Anna. You can look it up at any, well, it's all right here. 1779 Declaration of Naturalization Act, the one pager. Okay, that's one piece of it. You have your birth certificate. The birth certificate establishes the nationality, because that states where you were born. So even if you were born on another country, okay, so I don't want to end up saying, even if you were born on another country, Mexico, just saying, because it's south, okay, even if you were born on another country, but you currently live on one of the 50 states, then you present to that assembly and they'll be able to support you with your status correction. Okay? But it's where you're currently standing now. Greetings, dear. Welcome, Johnson County. Welcome, welcome. All right. I did finally, pardon, it started a little bit later. I forgot that I had to do the other button. Click on. Anyway, technology, working through it, and technology. Okay, so but some of the things I've been able to play with, as you can tell, I've been able to get the website text up there and do some added little things. And again, that's a shout out to Jeff on Marion County for sending a link to a YouTube video to be able to help me at least be able to get the YouTube chat into OBS, so I don't have to keep going back and forth. Hey Lisa, welcome, St. Joe. All right, great job. Welcome, welcome. All right, Allen County, Jonathan, welcome. All right, so again, we've took a little bit longer I was getting things set up in OBS, playing around. I want to, again, as more are coming in, a shout out to, I'm going to keep thanking Jeff on Marion County because he was able to help support me the most so far in getting, sending, because I'm like that. I'm a perpetual student. I don't want you to just say, do this, do this, do this. You know, show me exactly, I can go find a video, but, at least a starting point, and I'll watch the video and learn my way through it. Right? So that was super, super helpful. So I was able to get some things moving forward here. So I just want to make sure I say thank you to Jeff on Marion County, because he has been, OBS has been interesting figuring out how to connect those together with YouTube. All right. So, again, we are going through all of the in the description of this call, is the link for this document resource links. Okay, so these are going to be some major links to be able to help support you. We've been going through these first 4. You want to bookmark. First one is AunaVonRights.com. That is her blog. It is hosted by Paul Stramer. It is in chronological order. So, at some point I'm going to have to keep going back. The first time me going back over it again was on me, because I just realized that other wasn't clicked. Okay, so blog article. Again, like I said, it's in chronological, so it goes to, she's at 4,155 articles. Let's see. And there's a train going by. It's not coming through, thank goodness. Okay, so 4,155 articles, and like I said, but it's in chronological order, and some browsers aren't, some computers aren't able to support all that's with that. Plus, he's got extra stuff with that. But anyway, so that's a chronological of them, and you'll be able to get, keep, because she's right on, and so Paul is also right on with timing as she pumps them out. He's got them up for her. All right. And then we went to the TASA site. That's where we were. Hold on. Get that up. All right. Okay. So on the TASA site, this is going to be, you are going to bookmark it. You're going to be here a lot. Excuse me. Especially as you're going through your paperwork. Okay? Your paperwork is the key. If you don't have the paperwork done, you don't have the standing to be able to do anything else. Okay? So, and then part of the paperwork is that you have to present we'll go here. So correct your status. So the bare minimum. And of course, everyone has to, for whatever status they're working towards, they always start with the birth certificate and or supporting documents. Say they had, they were adopted, or there was a name change, or if they were born on another country, so forth. So those are any supporting documents that would need to come with that. If they were born on a military base, then they will need to select one of their parents that was born on one of the 50 states, preferably the one that has the oldest family history on a particular state, so that way it'll tie you to a longer family history on one of the states. Okay, if you were born on one of the U.S. territories or possessions, you'll have to do the 1779 as an immigrant, as a naturalized citizen immigrant, because that's a little bit different. It's not like a green card kind of situation. Okay, so anyway, the basic on that. Okay, so the birth certificate, the importance of the birth certificate is to identify that, oh yes, you were a living boy or girl, was born on this day. These are the parents, maybe both listed, and maybe some more details of where parents were born, so forth, but it'll have your base details, the name, date born, and whoever it was that was the informant for you. Okay, so that's the birth certificate. Then there are the 2 witness testimonies. There are 2 witnesses. Some get confused and misunderstand that because the template only has 1. So here's 17. This tells you more information about the 1779. If you go here to process. Okay, let's go down. I guess because I'm magnified a little bit here. Let's try this. Oh, wrong direction. Here we go. Okay. So the document, when you click here, it'll take you here to the documents. Right here is the witness testimony. So you have, and it tells you here, 2 witness testimony. 2, as that reminder that you're to have 2 people, okay, preferably over the lawful age of 21, because we are land and soil jurisdiction, while the sea and air jurisdiction have legally accepted 18 as the age of an adult. Lawful age of an adult is 21. Now, if you're going to a public notary, you know, it depends on a lot of things. If for the most part, it depends on who it is, even in the call, because remember, we've got small little cameras. I'm making sure that at least that they're valid, their ID is valid. There's a lot of details that aren't going to be able to be seen on that, but enough to be able to verify they're valid. The person that, just as if you went to a public notary, yeah, that looks like the person that's in the picture. Okay, so, but 2 are listed here. So again, you want to make sure that they're at least, preferably over the lawful age of 21. 18, you know, depends on if they're going to a public notary. The second key piece, they have to have known you for at least 7 years. There's no getting around it. This is where many want to have a problem. And a lot of times, for some, is that it's more so of the fear of who to ask, because they've already ran it through in their mind that, no, they are not going to possibly want to do it for me, because they've already decided that they don't agree with what you're doing. So many have a lot of reasons as to why they have an issue with their 2 witnesses that have known you for at least 7 years. Okay? There is a reason that it's 7 years, because it also follows that we're following the same requirements as the process for the naturalized U.S. citizen, because it is all part of this process of being, that's all was supposed to originally be our government, right? That was originally how it was proven what your nationality is. You had to present, you had to show yourself, because they didn't know at that time whether, because they knew there were people coming over, because immigrants, it's a melting pot, right? It's immigrants were constantly coming. They weren't going to know who was coming that were Brits, who were Germans, who were Israelis. So they had to have a process to be able to show, and then have a process, they had to verify that they didn't receive support for, if they're coming from another country, how did they support themselves for at least 7 years? Okay? They have to have known someone that's known them for at least 7 years. 7 years is knowing someone long enough. 1 year, 5 years. Some may even know one for 5. Some can know someone for 25, 30 years, and something will just out of the blue come up, and you never thought that one was thought that way about something. Okay, so don't preconceive what your witnesses may or may not say. Some get confused and think that they're going to have to coach their witnesses on how to sign differently. No. So it's really not as complicated. But then we have some that are they have no problem and breeze right through the witness testimonies and birth certificates, but just can't get the paperwork dealt with. Just have a hard time working through the paperwork. And because they're going through a notary, public notary as well. So, and the public notary they're asking the public notary, the state of Indiana notary, how to support them when the state of Indiana notary is not a land and soil jurisdiction notary, has no clue, and is automatically going to go with the programming. So that's just like saying you're going to go vote again in a system that no one has said anything about changing the voting system that you knew was in play previously. Nothing's changed, but you think a different outcome will happen because you're the one doing it this time. That's not how that works. Okay? So, 2 witnesses, same process for everyone. 2 witnesses, preferably over the lawful age of 21, that have known you for at least 7 years. No getting around it. Okay? So, it is listed here, and it can get confusing. Okay? Some have thought that it meant 2 copies of one witness testimony. No. And at one time, it was that you were actually supposed to present 3 original wet ink copies of everything. Originally, at one time, that was even before the 1-pager. That was back when, to do any status correction, you had to start with the whole 928 bundle. So, things have come a long way. So, this is not complicated. We can do this. All right. So, again, 2 witness testimonies. Now, if you're not sure why, okay, you can go right here to chart your course as to why 2. Well, 1, the Bible does, we were told, where 2 or more are gathered in my name. But many have a hard time thinking that there was any truth in the Bible. So here is a witness testimony in the form of affidavit. And this is where Anna goes into, it's not this. She talks about it in the actual article here. But here we talk about, because there are some that are that are older that they really aren't going to have a hard time, and they're seeing it's for witnesses to their birth and identity. Okay, it still means anyone who has known you a significant period of time, 7 years or more, and knows your family and background may serve as a witness. And here are examples. Okay? Now, there are also examples of like if your bank teller. But that means you've had to have had the account with them for at least 7 years. Even though that particular teller may not have worked there for 7 years. You've established a relationship with that bank by having that bank account open with them for at least 7 years at that point. A lot of people come and go in the first year, right? The point is significant period of time. 7 years or more is a significant period of time. Okay? So, no point in trying to get into semantics. It's all here. Another information that you can go to is when we go to search Audubon rights, it's the Minnesota Rule 220. Oh, I haven't been on here on this one. I'm usually in Brave, and I went into Explorer because it's easier for sharing with OBS. Minnesota Rule. All right. It's the Minnesota Rule 220, Article 1598. And again, it's just reiterating what was even on that page of listing here. So, there's 3 pieces of paperwork that prove that you are the John Tyler Brown. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Being reinforced. 1, the birth certificate giving the details of where and when a certain John Tyler Brown was born. 2, in the 2 competent witness testaments affirming that you are the owner operator of the lawful person, that trade name, who was born on the day and at the time, place shown on the BC birth certificate. They're affirming your identity to fulfill the Minnesota Rule 220. Why do we even care about Minnesota? Because we are all federations, or all states of the Union, so we all have equal standing. Okay? Hey, Hendricks County, welcome, dear. Sorry, pardon for just now seeing that. All right. So, there we go. To be able to help you with the 2 witnesses. Okay, so let me go back to the, get back to here. Correct your status. Okay, so we're still here. All right, so we have the 2 witness testimonies are here. Now, again, like I was saying, some get confused though, because when you click on it, that it only gives you 1 template, okay? But you're going to fill in your details at the top, and then you're going to make 2 copies of that so that you have for your second witness. And the Indiana Assembly notaries are not active at this point in time. That's going to be more for when the Jural Assembly is standing and active. So you have the option for the Indiana Assembly, you have either Assembly Recording Secretary, myself, or you can go to a state-of-state notary. So you can click either one there, and it gives you the already formatted template for the notary. If you're choosing a state-of-state notary, there's nothing you have to explain to them. They'll want to try and chit-chat. No, because they'll try to figure out a way that they're going to try and, because they don't understand what's going on, okay? And they'll try to slap an extra piece of paper on that has no connection to, even though they'll staple it, it does not actually connect with that document. There's nothing actually on there that actually connects with that document. Anytime you actually, and in their courts, even when you're splitting where you've autographed and where the notary on 2 separate pages, anything can be inserted in between. Okay? All right, so 2 witness testimonies, preferably over the lawful age of 21, and have known you for at least 7 years. That's a significant period of time per ANA. All right, so we've got the birth certificate, 2 witness testimonies. All right, so those 2 pieces are for anybody regardless of how much paperwork they want to present, because that's establishing their identity. Okay? You provide a lot of stuff to the BMV to make sure that you have that photo ID with them so you can follow the process if you're wanting to actually do this lawfully. Okay, so over here then are, on the left side are all the different 1779s. Okay. All right, Jeff. Woohoo. Welcome, welcome. Oh. If you haven't noticed, of course, there's a comment in there. Got several shout outs for you, Jeff. If you can tell some, I've been playing around in OBS and you should be able to see it hopefully on the screen, but I've got the chat in my OBS. I know it doesn't show for you guys, but the main thing is so I didn't have to go back and forth, and I wanted to thank you for that. All right. So the different 1779s. Oh, and real quick, Jeff, and those of you that have popped in late, in the description on the YouTube channel for this call is the link for the one-page resource link document that we're going through to give you some links to be able to support you, okay? All right, so then over here, we've talked about birth certificate, and there's 2 witnesses completing the witness testimony. All right, again, preferably over the lawful age of 21. That 18 to 21 age range is a gray area, and they have to have known you for at least 7 years. Okay, so on the 1779s, the one that says for Americans, so that is for if you were actually born on one of the 50 states. Okay? Which 1779 you use depends on where you were born. Which assembly you present to depends on where you're currently standing for your home now. Okay? So, where you were born. So if you were born on one of the 50 states, you're going to use this first one. And it gives you the option of either an assembly recording secretary, state of state notary, or there's also an interactive generator that's a small fee for you to key your info in, and it'll plug in the document for you. Here is if you are an immigrant but went through the green card process but did not go through naturalized citizen. Here is that 1779. If you are 7-year undocumented, that means you didn't go through the U.S. citizen naturalization process. You did not get a green card. So while it's saying undocumented, it's undocumented as far as you didn't go through the documentation from another government of sorts, right? From the U.S. showing that you've made that change. So you'll be providing proof of how you supported yourself for the previous 7 years, and that you were living somewhere on American land and soil for all of those 7 years. At least 7 years, right? All right. Then if you are naturalized, you're able to use this one. Blanks. I'm not sure why that says blanks. Oh, well, I don't know. But this then is for naturalized citizens, so they did go through the U.S. naturalized citizen process. And the backup supporting document will be their documentation that they were naturalized, and the green card would be proof of their green card, right? And then here are for federal employees. Okay, those are for those that work for a federal, municipal, or district agency, or the company that they work for is predominantly all the pay comes from a federal, municipal, district, that territorial government entity. Okay. Another example is that many don't think of is that, like, for example, my son works for the Marion County Public Library. So he's a federal employee, albeit Marion County is of the library is a private entity. They're listed as part of county government within that whole grouping. So he's technically a federal person. Okay, but he has declared he has done the 1779 as a federal person, completed his 928s. He's not eligible to stop taxes at this point in time because he is a county employee. Okay, because that's how they pay their employees, is through the funding that is a budget that's rubber stamped from the county commissioners. Okay, so until he leaves that employment, he'll still be considered a federal person, but he's not always acting 24/7 in that capacity. When he's off the clock, he's an American state national. Okay, it's just that he's not able to actively support in the build of and the work that is to be done for Indiana as a whole while he's a federal person. But he can still go to events, he can still participate in learning for the learning and receiving support from the militia, jural, all of that. Okay, so but he would not be able to be elected into any office because that would be a conflict of interest, right? So, and that's something that he's, that was the second job he's ever had, and he worked up from being a part-time intern to finally moving into a full-time. If anybody knows county government, sometimes it can take a while to work through that process anyway. So, and he's a grown adult. He's almost 30. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so he's, that's his decision at this point in time, right? So if you are a federal person, there is an option for you, so you're not totally left out there. But there are municipal assemblies out there that you could still be able to at least, go to, because as a federal person, you're going to have those associations, right? So at least you'll be able to, because there's still some things you're going to have to deal with from that aspect, right? And they'll be able to support you there too. All right. So that is the core. Now, if you wanted to go further in, then there's also the common carry declaration. Many, and of course it has on there, common carry, first thought is of whether you're going to have a firearm, visible or concealed, okay? But it's also, how are you carrying yourself? And your arms, are you all over the place, or are you contained? And that includes the extension of your pen, to write, right? So where are you? How well do you know yourself? Right? Are you able to actually carry yourself, or is it really only whether you have permission to carry a gun or not? Because it's all of it that comes with it. Common carry. Everything that comes with that. You're making the choice to how you're carrying yourself. Okay? There's then the declaration of political status. And that is where, after you've done at least the 1779 birth certificate and 2 witness testimonies of presenting to your state assembly where you currently call home, then is the declaration of political status. And you'll want to get that with an embossed crimper seal. Now, most state of Indiana notaries do not do not have an embosser just because they decided they didn't want to pay for the cost of it, because for the most part in their jurisdiction it's not relevant for them, because that was really for the land. When they at one time they were able to serve for the land and soil cap jurisdiction, and that was really what that embosser was for. And because their work, what they do, doesn't use the embosser in any way, so they're not going to put that cost out there. So most of them won't, and they'll just say, well, they don't do that anymore, even though state of Indiana still allows that they can use the stamp and or the embosser. So if they don't have an embosser, then you'll want to get it sent to, if you've used a public notary, state of state notary, then you'll want to get it to me to put the assembly embosser, and I would put it on a gold foil and crimp it so that way it's got the gold foil as well as for copy purposes. All right. And then there is a cover letter that is for, let me get that. Cover letter is here. Cover letter and U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. And then so you'll have the cover letter, then here are the declarations, whether you're going to using assembly recording secretary or state of state notary. Again, no assembly notary at this point for right now. Then there's also the generator if you wanted to use that option. You don't need to do the cover letter till you're actually ready to send that. Okay? Now, this is another part that many miss, is that they think, well, they'll just print the letter out and they'll know to go ahead and put on some, but you'll want to make sure that you put on the actual cover letter whatever the mailing tracking that you're using. Preferably you want to use registered mail for this, right? Because that's showing that you're conducting business, right? You're serving notice at this point, right? Sending registered mail. So you would put the registered mail number on the cover letter itself before it gets sent, so that way, because there's a lot of mail centers and assistants before that recipient actually gets their mail. So you may have done everything to get it put together for registered mail, paid all that money to have it sent, but if you didn't put that number on that cover letter, that recipient may not know that you actually sent it registered mail if you didn't inform them, because it may not come with that envelope. Okay? So that's up to you. You're serving notice. Do you really want to serve notice on a forever stamp, though, too? Folded up and sent in a regular envelope. Okay? So the point is, with a tracking, you're able to serve them notice, but you have proof whether they respond or not, whether they send you a green card back or not. You have a tracking number that you can get a screenshot for proof of delivery. That's all you have to do, is prove that you sent it and it was at least delivered. So that's all you have to prove, right? All right. Now that's something you don't want to use on each other as a tactic to try and serve someone when you don't have a way to be able to respond back, or you're hoping that they're going to, anyway. So want to make sure that you have that registered mail letter number on that cover letter. Okay. And then you're going to put the date that you actually mail it. Okay, so don't put the date that you got your declaration of political status notarized. Put the date you're actually mailing it. Okay, and you're going to put your own wet ink autograph on that letter. That's you showing that you're actually officially a real living being that has moved that piece of paper forward. Okay? The de facto doesn't nobody signs anything because they don't want to hold it, they don't want to be held personally accountable. You're stating you're taking ownership. You're claiming. You're putting your name on it. Stop hiding. US citizens hide. U.S. citizens will do anything they can. There are some that will, even on that declaration of political status, even though you've gone through the whole thing of an autograph, will scribble. Just an outright scribble. And then not sign the cover letter either. Autograph the cover letter either. No. We're Americans are front and center. We're not hiding. And we don't need to come up with stories and blame others. It's your own actions. Take ownership for your own actions, responsibility for your own actions. No matter what you think you're justifying in your own head of thinking it's somebody else's fault, you're wrong. You played a part in it somehow. Okay? And so if you want to be able to have a smoother walk, you got to figure out how to stop hanging on other people, because that's a U.S. citizen. And that behavior belongs in district and municipal assemblies. It doesn't fly here. Okay. And we go right here to, there's a tab here that says autographing. Let me see if I can get this a little bit. Maybe, there we go. Okay. For autograph, on the 1779, your autograph, it actually has here, it's showing you first, full, middle, last, copyright. Many think if it's printed on the paper before the line and the copyright is there, that's sufficient. That's not in your wet ink. You're taking ownership. You want to the whole point is you're trying to protect your name, the name, from being used without your permission. So why would you not put the front and back end that are the actual protectors? Why do you still not want to put that in your own wet ink? Your byline. That's your autograph. The bicolon and the copyright are part of your autograph. Also note, that is the only punctuation that belongs in your autograph. That's the only colon. There are no other colons in the autograph, nor are there hyphens. If you're using that, that is known as parse syntax. We've experienced it before, so you're not new if you're using that in your name, in your autograph, okay? And you can go to Search Audubon Rights and type in subject parse syntax, and she'll explain to you what all that is. Okay? So either way, it's been copyrighted, so you don't have permission to use it because you are not in the freedom movement that is with Russell J. Gould, who copyrighted the parse syntax process and naming of using the that languaging in the name and in context and everything. If you're not a part of the claim for life process, you don't have permission to use that, so you can't use it and also publish things with it. Okay? As an American, that's not your autograph. As an American, the autograph is bicolon, first, full, middle, last name, and copyright. As well as, we don't go by monikers. Again, we're front and center. Albeit if you're going to change your name, you do it through the 928 process, but you have supporting documentation to back up what the name change is for. It's not just, well, I identify with this today. No. There is no identifying as Americans. We know who we are. We know who we are. If you don't know who you are, then you're not ready yet. And a moniker is not who you are. That's not how you came. That's who you've decided to be right now, but that is not who you came as. And a large part of this is getting to know who you are, because you've been lied to so much and been told things that were untrue and taken in completely different directions, and be sure that the behaviors that you have today are totally acceptable, and it's not. You were given a false, but don't go blaming everybody else and that we all have to cater to you because everybody else's fault that did it to you. No. This is about growing up. This is about taking your own responsibility and stop blaming everybody else. You taking action or not. Don't try to nail Christine down to try and give you a specific answer to do something. It's still on you, not me. You can play dance and try to hang me. It's still ultimately your move, not mine. I didn't put you to do anything. You still have to make that decision whether you're moving on something or not. Okay. Anyway, the autograph. So on that cover letter, but you're not on the cover letter, you're not going to include the thumbprint. There's no point in doing the thumbprint. But you'll do the thumbprint on your declaration of political status. Okay? Okay, so cover letter. Now, if you've had me witness you do your autographing your declaration of political status, you don't need to mail me your cover letter with that because you haven't sent it yet. You're just going to have to mail it again. So you're just paying postage again and just sending it back and forth. I can't do anything with the cover letter yet. Okay, but I'll send it back to you so you have it regardless. You'll have it when you're ready to send. And the date, again, it's the date that you mail it, not the date that you're doing the getting the declaration of political status notarized. Okay? Now, the declaration of political status, if you're doing it, you will do it in blue ink, but you can use cursive on that. Only the 1779 is printed in blue ink, and only deeds, whether you're doing the acknowledgement and acceptance of deed of reconveyance or a baby deed or a private auto deed, then it's red ink printed for deeds because you're the owner. You are the actual owner. Okay? Then all the other documents are blue ink, cursive, with the exception of the printed 1779. All right. All right, so that was the declaration of political status. Many think to run through and want to do that baby deed, but the baby deed is really for children under the lawful age of 21. And and you have to be a status corrected national yourself. Okay? You can't just say, I'm a national and I want you to witness my baby deed. But I'm not going to show you any of my paperwork to verify that I'm a national. That's not how that works. You can go to a public notary and you can take care of sending it and doing all that. I'm just not going to be able to publish it to your record until you've presented everything that comes with that, right? All right. So a baby deed is for those that are under the lawful age of 21. A parent or a grandparent that has the birth certificate, that has the copy of the birth certificate, can do the baby deed, but they have to have at least presented the 1779 birth certificate and 2 witness testimonies in order to have standing to have a child. If you have not presented your status correction of at least the 1779 birth certificate and 2 witness testimonies, then you're still a U.S. citizen. You own nothing. You're the property. You don't have a right to own anything. It's about whether you have the standing or not, right? And there are some out there that are able to articulate that they have the standing and haven't presented to the assembly, but they've also been doing it a lot longer than you have, right? Whereas if you're wanting some kind of a shielding of support, I don't know how much that is, other than it's at least to be there to give guidance, to walk through things. Okay. You've got to be able to present to the assembly if you're wanting assembly support, right? Don't come expecting the assembly to just give. If you want that, you can go right back on over to the de facto. They will happily listen to you and give you whatever it is you want and hold your hand. But that's not how we are here as Americans. We're grown-ups. We're not woke. We're awake. All right, baby deed. Okay, so now another point to reference is that the recording cover. Many think that they're supposed to, because it says recording cover, they think they're supposed to present it to the recording secretary, but that recording cover is if they're going to like a county recorder, a county recorder to present. So there's a cover page from that. It is not what you need to present to the assembly. But if you do, that's great. It'll be sent back with everything else. Okay. Diagram of the fraud, that's optional. I don't know if any of you have seen that. Where is that? Oh, that should be a one-pager on the 50 state site. Let's see. Here is the 50 state site, which we would be getting to as well. This is going to be huge. I'll go back to that when we get there. Okay, so that is just bare status correction. Birth certificate, 2 witness testimonies, 2, and 1779 Declaration of Naturalization. Then if you wanted a little bit more, there's the Declaration of Political Status, common carries there, baby deed for those under 21. And again, on that part too, is that if the declared presented national parent or grandparent, because it has to be, that's as far as you can go, 3 generations for the lineage. Then that child, whatever the child is, gets involved with prior to like 16, 18, obviously that's going to be more so on if there was a parent involved of what was going on with that. But then once they hit that 16 into 21, if they start dealing with like the driver's license and taxes, voter registration, some of that stuff they may have to peel out of, but once they turn 21, lawful age, then they have the choice, right? They can choose whether they want to, if they go ahead to stay as a national, though, then they would have to stop, it's not that they have to stop working for where they're working, but they have to figure out how to work out to not have taxes taken out, or else have taxes taken out, but not do that tax return to report it. There are things you have to work through. I can't give you that answer, nor can I give you the answer if that HR person is going to say, okay, they'll go ahead and do it, or why they won't. I can't answer that. It depends on what that man or woman, what their knowledge is at the time. Okay, so those are going to be just your key ones. So now, once the child turns 21, which they can participate with the, not as far as in lead roles, because they're not, most likely aren't going to be ready for that anyway at that age, but they can still get involved with doing things with the militia, supporting the militia. They're not going to be able to help with the juror or business, obviously, but they're obviously not going to hold any office or peacekeeping role or anything like that in the militia. But there are things that they can start doing in that age period. But then when they turn 21, if they decide they want to, continue with the license, taxes and all that other stuff, but then later decide they want to come back, then they'll have to do the status correction as an adult at that point. Okay. All right. So those are just some brief of the base status correction and at the correct your status tab. Then if you wanted to even get even deeper, you would go into chart your course. One of the things, of course, is going to be you want to cancel that voter registration. Voter registration is what gives them legal permission to kidnap your vessel, your body, wherever you're at, to pick it up. Okay, so you'll want to cancel that, as well as it's the one that they summons to court. For jury duty, you're summons to jury duty. There's nothing that says, and then they threaten you too, that if you don't show up and report in, that you can be held in contempt of court. Right? So please, tell me that all their voting system is set up, right? It's rigged, right? So if you still think that you're going to get a different outcome, that's on you. Okay. But then there is also dealing with, before you even want to deal with trying to even start talking to the employer about trying to get the taxes taken out, or to stop them from taking the taxes out, you're going to need to deal with the IRS. All right. So here are 3 articles from Anna directly about the IRS. Here is Truth About the IRS. Then here is the revocation of election to pay taxes. There are 2 letters that you're sending. It goes into more detail of the steps that you're going to also do and work through. Okay? Here are the 2 addresses, but there are the templates here. Oh, yep. It's been updated to Warfel. And there was an Indiana on Johnson County, I want to say. Johnson or Hendricks. That let me know that Warfel was updated. So, and good. We see here that it was updated here too as well. Yeah, that's interesting. Another change. Okay. Anyway, it's the same man, but serving in 2 different capacities. So that's why you're sending one to DC, one to New York. You're sending to both. It's not a pick one. You're sending to both because it's 2 different capacities being served. Then it goes into discussing the W-4 voluntary withholding request form, W-4V. There's more info in here. I'm not going to go into that kind of discussion this evening. I get long-winded anyway. All right. But you've got to even start here. Okay, so you've got to get a clear head. It's not just about, well, I got to stop them from taking out my money. Okay? If that's all you're looking for, then that's really not going to help you any, because that's not You're wanting to actually clean this up. It's not just trying to just dip and bail. Right? That's a U.S. citizen response. Americans handle their business and close things out. That's a mature way to handle it. Okay, so that you can get into more here, but you've got 2 letters to do to IRS before you even, then it shows you'll be able to then get moving forward with things. Okay? Before you even start thinking about trying to get out from underneath the employer taking taxes out. Because you can't articulate anything at this point yet. Because you haven't even read this. All you're focused on is, I want to stop them from taking money out of my pay. Because yes, I know, I agree, it would help you. But all you're going to get right now, the most you're going to get them to stop doing is they'll agree to not take withholding out. But what you really want them to stop, no W-8 Ben. We're not beneficiaries for anything. That means then you're a dependent. No, we're the owners of. Okay? That is just putting you right back into U.S. citizen control. Okay? We're not U.S. citizens. That does not apply to us. Okay? The W-4V, the tax doesn't apply to us, period, right? So what got us even into the tax was the W-4 that initiates the W-2, the tax time, okay? So you're going to cancel out the W-4, okay? Moreover, there are no trusts. Anna has articles on here as well. Chart your course about the revolving door of trusts. Note that with a trust, you sign over and give away ownership of your property to the trust. Even though you're under the illusion you're the controller of, you're the beneficiary of, you still had to take it out of ownership of your name. You just defeated your whole point of being the owner and operator of. Because with a trust, you had to get an EIN number. You had to notify them that you had a trust so they can then now take it from you. Because you don't have the know-how to be able to fight it. You can scream and dance all you want. But we're not beneficiaries. We are the owners of. We're in control of. This is land and soil. We actually have value real. We're not the rider for somebody else to just make sure that you just take care of everything for us. Again, that's a U.S. citizen mindset. I'm not a beneficiary of anything. Okay, so so back at that, because it lists some of them. I think it lists them all over here, but we'll go back to it at the chart your course tab as being huge. So then there is so those are the taxes. Here's more detail like we went through of the witness testimony. Then here are the 928 documents. This is what is really giving you some powerful teeth. Here's more details of the Declaration of Political Status. You're not even ready for this stuff yet until you actually, figure out where you're at with the paperwork, right? Transitioning your business from public to private. You can't even bring your business onto the land till you're on the land, right? Okay, so if you did want to go deeper into the 928 documents, here are short videos to go through each of those documents so you have a better handle of the purpose of each document. It's not just to fill in the blanks, nor is it well, you can just change it however you want. For example, none of the templates have the term womb man. Okay? We're not using that terminology in the paperwork. Now, if you want to use it, you're welcome to get a public notary to notarize it, and you can publish it to a county recorder somewhere out there and onto any other publishing platform. But that's not correct terminology for land and soil jurisdiction. And it's true, as a woman who has a womb, because I'm clear on what a woman is and what a woman has the ability to do. I got no questions about that. Okay? Womb man it's not appropriate term for how it's being used at this point. And we're not going to continue to go into that. All right, that's just getting into semantics on that. Just note that. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things we've got to you got to start building your own lexicon again, a dictionary of clearing out the incorrect words and all the words that they like to blur the lines with, that they tried to tell you, oh, well, that means this too, and it means this too, and no, it doesn't. So you're going to need to start discerning between words. But it'll come. It'll come. All right, here's also fee schedule. That's, again, you have to have the standing to be able to even issue the fee schedule. Also note, the 928 documents, while you can go and pick and choose certain pieces out of the 928 documents, it is still considered a bundle. And if you're wanting to be considered armored up to be able to support the assembly, you have to do all the documents. If you are considering yourself as having standing, you have to do all the documents, because they're in the order that they're in, because each one has the authority from the previous one. And they all start with the deed. If you haven't even brought yourself back on the land with a deed of reconveyance, none of the other documents in that bundle make a difference. Just doesn't. So you can no. The county at the county recorder's office is a C jurisdiction publishing. Okay? Now, where that word is valid is if you're in one of their courts, right? But the LRO is land and soil jurisdiction only. Okay? County of Marion recorder's office, the recorder for the County of Marion. That's the C jurisdiction. It's valid in their court. It's not valid on it. I mean, it's valid for but it's, and it would be acceptable as being previously published, for meeting the publishing requirements for your status correction. Okay. But the County of Marion, just as an example, County of Marion Recording Office is the C jurisdiction. And that is where, if you do have some kind of a court issue within their court system, that's where you're going to put stuff on their record, right? Because that's the only place they're going to see it. Okay, but the LRO is land recording. It is solely land and soil jurisdiction. Okay. So we got to remember that while all we've ever known up until this point was that there was a county of Marion recorder, and that's the only place you could record your documents, that's not the case anymore. We're land and soil. So we've got to start separating out the two, because they are not one and the same, like the U.S. likes to make things believe. They like to try to do a lot of things to make you believe that they're similar, just enough to convince you to buy into it. Okay? So don't go running to them as the authority, because they're not. They've been the ones that have been misinforming and misdirecting everyone all along, because they don't want to lose their business. None of them want to lose their job, so they're not going to steer you in this direction in any way. They're going to steer you deeper and deeper into their cesspool. Okay? Okay, so this is also once you've become declared your status correction and you're at a point where you are ready to have a baby, here's a whole process that a South Carolina, one of the Carolinas, armored up nationals, the mother, I think it's South. The mother nurse, and so she was able to support walking through this process, and so she goes through here. I love this. This is great. I love this. Anyway, so that will give that support in that. Oh, there was also I did just saw that for the marriage record. Oops. Marriage record. Okay. That is both. You can't just get yourself out of it. Okay? You both have to be nationals in this. We're not going to get into that kind of discussion right now. That's off topic at this point. We're just doing an overview at this point. If you want to update documents in their system, you can question them as to what you want at the county. But if you're wanting documents that are relative to land and soil, I'll be glad to answer your questions on that. Okay, so here on the marriage paperwork. So here is what it is a holy matrimony, or marriage, a record of marriage. Okay, and that is if your officiant is able to, like, say, okay, so I guess really the only example I'm going to be able to give you at this point that you would know is for, like, with the marriage license, right? So you have for the most part, there's been a pastor or or a notary, that officiated the wedding, the marriage, right? And so then they would sign, however they sign, however they do it for their, they would sign, and witnesses, just like the marriage license, except you don't submit that to state of Indiana for the license. That what you would do then is then present it to myself as recording secretary to publish to your record, so that to show that you completed the process. Now, what it is, it's a process like everything else. So there's the actual document. Right. Okay. So that one is the marriage record on that aspect. Now, say, for example, like in mine and my husband's case, at this point now we've been married 27 years. But the pastor, we got married in Florida in 95. And our pastor crossed over at least 15, 20 years ago. So there was no coming back to get the officiant to be able to fill that out for us. So we have what's called a cancellation of third party contract. And it is on the Assembly website page. But again, you have to have the standing before you can even do it. But I have it on the Assembly website page. Let me go here. Oh, you can... I think this even takes us to our site. If we click on. Alright, so if you go to just hover over join, not actually click, but hover over join and click templates. Again, you have to have the standing, and your husband or wife, your other, has to be declared nationals as well. And again, we're men and women, and we marry women in this. Same-sex marriages are honored in the legal in the U.S., but not here. All right, let's see. Here it is. Third party. Oh, no, wait. That's the mailing thing. So I got some little great tools in here. Where is that? Here it is. Marriage paperwork or marriage revocation of third party corporate governmental agency licenses and registrations. That's a mouthful. But anyway, with that one, so what my husband and I did with that is, because we're both armored up. You both don't have to be armored up, but you both have to have at least done the bare minimum, okay, of status correction. You're welcome, dear. Okay. Of the bare minimum of status correction, okay? Because one, you don't get to save the other one out of it. You both have to be on board together, right, with it. Okay, so you would get it notarized, get that document notarized, include a copy of the marriage license that you had, and then you send that registered mail to the Secretary of State of the state of issuance for the license, to that Secretary of State. Okay, so you'll send it registered mail. So you'll probably want to come up with a cover letter to be able to send with that has C registered mail number, list the name of that between this one and this one to cancel the contract or cancel the license. Okay. And then you will send that. And again, send it registered mail, because you're serving notice, and then that way, and you may or may not get a green card back, but you'll at least be able to have verification that you did serve notice. Okay. Now, we just ended up, because I was able to save through the years, because when my husband and I got married, it just happened because, well, not that it just happened, but we were already dating for well over a year, and were talking about marriage. And then, anyway, long story short, by the time we got married, I was pregnant. And so the pastor was going ahead and he married us because my mom had just died and all this. Anyway, so, his wife, the pastor's wife, she did a holy matrimony certificate at the time, and then I saved it all throughout the years, so I was able to add that then to be able to, because that serves as a public record as well. First steps that have to be done with dealing with the BMV is one, you have to own the property and you have the car or truck, and you have to have standing, because you can't own anything if you're a U.S. as long as you're a U.S. citizen. Then there is a private auto deed process that you go through, and then there's more that has to be done to work through the BMV. At that point, then you're working with their channels on a communication platform called Mattermost. You'll learn more once you have presented the bare minimum. You'll get access to that to connect with declared nationals countrywide, and you can then support each other as you're walking through peeling out of each of the systems. But you have to have the standing to be able to do it, and it all starts with having ownership. And ownership does not mean that while you have it in your driveway that you're still making payments. You have to actually own it. Okay? And then you have to at least then deal with the private auto deed process. And then you have to, because that gives you the standing and the ownership of it. So then you're going through the process of notifying them. Because it's not just doing a document and think it magically happens. Then you're going through a process that you're actually having to serve them notice. And they're not all the states are on board yet. Again, this is a process they're not easily willing to give up because they're losing in this. Okay? Nor are very many wanting to share what they're doing and learning. Okay? This is all part of not expecting others to do it and just think it's just going to happen either. You have to actually do some work. It's not going to just disappear because you've done some paperwork. All right. So those are key pieces on here that you're gonna be able to deal with. Here are links to Anna's webinars Monday nights, and I think here gives you all the details. Here you can nope, that's the search for the webinars. Used to be able to, I guess, oh, here you go. Subscribe so that you can be able to get the email with the link directly for it. It's not coming from me. This is coming from the Federation, so don't look for me if you're missing emails or didn't get something. All right. So here's also for the federal record, where as Anna has been posting items to the federal record, from what she has also been serving notice to all these other countries, the Pope, all these officials. So here is where it's the public record of the documents, federal record of the documents, and here's the peace treaty. That's a great one to read. Here's you can click on the states to see that we went through a roll call vote. Indiana's is here. Peace treaty. Okay, then here's the public law. That's also great to read. Indiana was able to be a part of that as well. Some states, if you see where you see have abstained, it's not that they were abstaining because they were choosing not to participate. It was because they didn't have enough standing armored up members to be able to have their vote. All right, welcome Linda on Lake County. Welcome. All right. So those are the key pieces you're going to be dealing with. And then here is another source to be able that. Okay, so continuing education takes you to the 50 state site, which that's the home page, which was of the right here of where it shows And it is this tab right here that we went to for here. This is one, there's sub tabs because there's quite a bit of information. This is one that Terry has a ongoing challenge of spend at least 10 minutes a day, at least, and if you can, build up as you can, whatever your time allows for, to be able to go spend 10 minutes on this page of looking through something of material on here. Sign in America study course. That's a great one that's going to support you with jurisdictions. It's also on the TASA site, a link to it as well. Here is the link for a PDF of something is wrong when. An American affidavit of probable cause by Anna. Here is the PDF of a brief that Anna wrote to Donald Trump while he was in office as president of the territorial. Other items, here is a support tool of committees that need to be developed on Indiana, and so some ideas of how each of those committees work. Again, you have to be fully armored up, and some of the role and background check, and some of the roles even required further vetting. So here are all the decrees over mandate, the declaration of flag. It's lengthy, but it has a lot of valuable information in there. So here's the Declaration of Independence, the 3 different constitutions from the U.S. level. On the Indiana site, if you go to join and just hover over join, click constitutions. I also have here Indiana's original 1816 and the 1851 Constitution. But really what would be most beneficial for you is to actually read the Declaration of Independence. Okay? That's really going to be your big one that you need to read often, because you need to get a grip and realize that's from 1776, and it is just like today. Okay? So maybe you can start with reading it. You'll start remembering what the importance of this is for. It's not just about freeing ourselves. It is. It is not just about, getting debt cleared off. It is. But it really is about helping to set this whole course straight. Get these crazy people out of here. Get things back on track. Stop with the nonsense and start behaving as adults. We're grown-ups, not children in adult bodies. It's time to start behaving. It's time to start so we can actually move on with our lives and stop thinking that everybody owes us something and everybody else is to blame for your own actions. It's time to just start fixing things. Okay? And you have to start with yourself, because you can't help anybody until you help yourself. You are your own first responder, right? You can't help anybody till you help yourself. So you got to get yourself straight. Figure out who you are. Okay. So those were these 4. And so then what I've done here was that I've given a listing, and we've talked about the SIA study course. The Federation does have a training portal now. 2 courses are open on it already, and a 3rd one is just about ready. It is a federation site, so if you have tech issues, you'll have to connect with the federation help desk to be able to support you with that. It's not an Indiana tool, so I can't help you with that. If you're looking for countrywide training calls that from declared nationals across the country, here's a link to be able to see the different calls that are available and how to connect with them. Of course, the assembly having the calls through YouTube as well, and our past calls on there. And I'm working to get uploaded to the website all the calls that have been done on YouTube and start getting that so we can still have them on the website as well for the record. But that was the point of why trying to still work with OBS or Zoom in order to be able to have the video files stored locally as opposed to only on YouTube server to have to later come back to download. Okay, so then what's left here are, when you go to search Audubon Rights, there are some key articles to be able to help you with some of your questions and working through some things. And if you just go to the Search Audubon Rights link, you can just put in the article number and you can pull up each of these articles and they'll give you more support in feeling your way through these things. And again, you're going to have to do your work. All right, so that was all I was running through this evening so that we could be able to address some common issues of moving forward from, you got to get through the paperwork and you got to deal with your questions. This is not a hand holding. It is not a coming to look for the specific answer. And many can say, yeah, you could have just said yes, or you could have just said no. Yes, I could have, but then you wouldn't have taken the time to look through it, to research it, to see what it was about, for one. And two, is that what you need for you? Okay, I can guide you. I can make sure you're meeting specific requirements. Yes, there are certain things that are specific requirements. But the things that I go deeper into that I'm trying to say that you need to do more work on yourself is because you need to do that homework and look for it. Don't just look for that. I want it exactly right, and I want you to give me that answer, so then if it's wrong, I can blame it on you. No, that's not how this works, because you still decided whether or not to do it or not. I didn't force you to make a move or not make a move. It's still on you. Indiana is just for the Indiana Assembly. Okay? Indianians that live on Indiana present to the Indiana Assembly. Now, the link that I have there in the resource link here, it has in the resource link, it has here for countrywide training calls. You can click here and you can see what are open calls where you haven't declared your status yet, and still in process, as well as, because you are learning from those that are opening up from other states within the country. Now, once you have at least presented the bare minimum, Declaration 1779, Declaration of Naturalization with the birth certificate and 2 witness testimonies, then you'll be given access to Mattermost communications platform, where there are channels that are topic based on the core things that everybody issues that they're having to deal with. where they all come together and they work together. They don't just go sit in there to expect everybody to give them answers. They share what they're doing. Okay? This is a work. It's not a just a go to greed to see what all you can tap into to grab in on. The groups are to help each other so you can work through based on your situation, because nobody's writing your letters for you. Nobody's giving you do this, do this, do this, but then turn around if it doesn't work for you. You don't get to come back on them, because that may not have been what worked for your situation. You still have to take the time to go within and ask Spirit if that's what you need for those situations of how you're pulling yourself out of things. Okay, but it also is the Mattermost communication platform is a Federation provided platform, free of charge from the Federation. So it is any issues, it's a Federation. And you can connect with the help desk if you have. But I'm able to, once you have presented the bare minimum, then I send you the access to be able to get into Mattermost. And then on Mondays, there is a live countrywide call on Mondays that goes through teaching you how to navigate Mattermost and how to work through it, and for the various different issues others are experiencing as well. Okay? But again, you have to declare your status, because we're Americans. We're straight up, present ourselves honorably. We don't hide and come up with our own way to try and work through things. We have some, we do for some things, but there are some things we have to follow that process too. All right. All right, so that was everything for this evening. So we have this Sunday is an assembly call. So if you are at least papered up, presented the 1779 2 witness testimonies and birth certificate, you'll get a Zoom link where you can be able to actually get in on the call. You'll have to have your camera on, be able, and microphone, just like on here where we have everyone acknowledge who they are and what county they're on. If you're going to be in the Zoom call, at that point you've presented yourself, you're going to be on camera at that point. If you don't want to be on camera, you go through the Zoom, or through YouTube, and that's where everybody else can be able to join the call as well. So that email will go out as that reminder sometime, I think, for Sunday. All right, so that's it for this evening's call, and we'll see you next week on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget, you'll see emails out there about helping to find a time to be able to meet with our Area Chief Marshal Joe on his schedule to be able to start supporting Indiana's building of the militia assembly, also known as CERT, out in the public, because it is a community emergency response team. Okay, so it's time, so you need to respond. There's only been a handful, and it's gone out to over almost 500 emails. Respond. Okay, it's time to start moving forward. All right, and again, the militia is for the Indiana militia is for those that are 21 and older. No, it's not in person, dear one. I am on Gibson County. This is not a big corporation where, right now, you're looking at the main support for the assembly. Okay, there are no in-persons for all these calls, and as we can, I try to hold events for face-to-face as I can, but that's all part of where you got to get your standing so you all can be able to come together. Okay? All right. I want to thank you all. Have a great evening. Peace and love. I'll see you on the next call. Take care.